Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rangers Rabble podcast. We're back with match reaction to Livingston 0, Rangers 3. A very, very comfortable victory in the end. Very, very comfortable victory. So, hello, welcome. I'm joined again by Stu and Graham. I think we'll just jump right in there. I'm not going to do all the faffing about, telling people to like and subscribe and check the description for our sponsors kit bag for up to 65%. All tops and all that sort of stuff, and help share the podcast. And if you like the stuff, become a member. I'm not going to do all that. I'm going to leave that for a wee bit later on in the podcast. I want to start though very quickly, Stu, because there's been a lot of chat on social media. People don't know what way to take it. I don't know what way to take it. Because I want to get into a 3-0 victory and maybe a wee quick discussion about next Sunday. But there was a couple of banners. One was political, which I'm not going to discuss because we don't discuss politics here on the Rabble, but I think the banner was spot on. The other banner, who was that aimed at?
Right. I think it's an idiotic banner because I think they're aiming it at the board, in all honesty. I think that's the idea behind it is they're saying to the board that these are the standards as Rangers we should hold ourselves to. If we're talking about standards, we should be winning trophies season in, season out. If we don't win the league, we should be winning cups. That said, to almost quote what Michael Beale has said in terms of standards, it just seemed like it was aimed directly at Michael Beale, saying, when you take something someone says and you say, well, if there's standards, these should be your standards. You're saying, Michael, how about instead of worrying about letting teams score, we worry about winning competitions? But I don't know. It felt poorly worded, the banner. I hope it was aimed at the board because it's so stupid if it's aimed at Michael Beale. And don't want to really start on a negative, but yeah, I just think it was a poorly worded banner. I don't think it was aimed at Michael Beale, but I just think, they've not really thought it through.
Yes, I was on mute. Yes. Okay. I would be amazed, Graham, if that banner was aimed at the manager. And a strange time to bring it up as well for me.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I didn't even think it was about it being aimed at the manager. I thought it was definitely at the board. I think it's spot on, but I just don't see the point in doing it at a game. It should be done elsewhere, like AGMs, all that kind of stuff. So it was the correct point, but the wrong time for me about the banner. I generally didn't even consider it was being aimed at Michael Beale. And if it was, then I agree it's out of order.
Aye, well, I mean, why would you aim it at the manager who's had the start that he's had, and he's not been here for the full 11 years? So I very much doubt it is aimed at him. But if it is, then that's really poor. That's pathetic. If it's not, then it's just badly timed for me. But however, each to their own. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Okay, Stu, 3-0. Before we go a deep dive into the game and discuss individual players and individual goals, your thoughts in 90 seconds or less on the game?
Bit huff and puff. Pretty much what we're going to expect from a game at Livingston. Like we said in the pre-match pod, it's always a difficult place to go on that pitch. Don't get to play a lot of football. It was made a little bit easier by some decisions I think we'll come to and we'll discuss and go into whether they should or shouldn't have been. But overall, I would have taken 3-0 absolutely every day of the week before the game. So to get a few more ticked up, although it actually puts us one back on the goal difference because of other results, it's just important that we're putting a bit of daylight between ourselves and these other teams. And hopefully, although I feel the red card helped us in terms of getting a couple of extra goals, I think the mentality that this breeds from results like this will help go a long way in terms of future and actually killing teams off early and taking the chances we create. Mute again. He's on mute again.
Oh, I don't believe it. Craig Andrews sums it up pretty well, Graham. Away game, clean sheet, no drama. Well, there was a wee bit of drama, but...
I'd describe it as a controlled professional away performance. I'd have turned 3-0, just wanted to win, no injuries, and up the road, basically, what I said in the preview. So happy with that. And like I say, just a couple of wee things that we'll go on and talk about later on. But overall, we can't complain.
No. There is some people, and I will get it up there now, asking, I don't want to get it wrong. People asking what the banner says. The banner says 2 trophies in 11 years, uphold the standards that matter. That's what the banner said for people. I just assumed everybody had seen it. My apologies, but that's what it said. But yeah. And there's Car's put it in the comments as well. 2 trophies in 11 years, uphold the standards that matter. Again, I just thought it was really, really strange timing. First half, Stu, I don't really want to jump on, and listen, I'm going to come to Raskin and Cantwell, who I thought were outstanding in class. I don't want to jump on folks' backs, and people have accused us of being negative in the past and stuff like that. We do get a goal in the first half through Fashion Sakala, who is a few yards offside. For me, Stu, he doesn't need to be. He's got to watch that run, and there's no real excuse for him to be offside there, is there?
I don't think there's ever really an excuse for Fashion Sakala to be offside, unless it's margins, and it's never margins with him. It's always a yard or 2 yards offside. And I honestly think, as someone who delves into Bet365's bet builder market and betting on offsides, Darwin Núñez is always a good shout for offside, but he must have posters of Fashion on his wall, because Fashion Sakala is, I can't understand how professional football is offside so much. And the goal, I mean, there's a few others. I was frustrated in another one. I think Tab or Cantwell played a ball over the top, and he was a couple of yards off at the halfway line. And you think, he's got so much pace, he doesn't need to be offside there. But for the goal, I can't understand how any footballer would not realise he's offside. He's on the wrong side of the defender, and if anything, he still has time to get onside, and he goes further offside. I know he wants to get the goal, and he's trying to get on the end of the cross, but yeah, for me, I don't know. It was disgraceful for him to be offside, and I know we talk about Fashion. Maybe his football brain isn't quite there, but I just think it's a side of his game he really, really needs to work on, because for someone with electric pace, in that scenario it's a bit different because it's a ball coming in quite close to him. I still think that's probably worse because he can clearly see the line. He can clearly see he's the wrong side of the defender, unless he's hoping that maybe the left back behind him somewhere is keeping him on. I just think he really, really needs to work on that side of his game, because he's a very important player to us, and he goes, his runs, his dynamism, everything that he brings to the team really helps us. But that side of things, that just the football brain, the decision making isn't quite there with Sakala, and hopefully it will come. But yeah, I just get so frustrated with how many times he gets caught offside.
Yeah, I wish Craig Andrews would stop stealing my points. Graham Sakala, he is. Like, he'll go through purple patches where he'll score, barrel loads of goals, and he'll really help the team out. But I think it's just more the frustration for me that, in situations like that, he shouldn't be offside. There was loads of times during the game today that, his final pass or his decision, it's just not good enough. And it's so hard to say that about a player who can make such a telling contribution, but just the wee tiny parts of his game for me just aren't good enough.
We'll say that numerous, as I've said it in this pod a few times, that if he had the football brain, he probably wouldn't be at Rangers, because he's got all the attributes to play at a higher level, but not technical, basically the physical attributes, sorry. But I don't know why you're told to kind of run on the other side of the defender and try and go to the front post, but he goes actually the other way, which makes more offside, obviously. So I think he can be taught it and get better at it, and playing on the last man better. He can do training sessions to kind of get better, but also we don't know what happens behind closed doors. But he's one of the players. It is frustrating, but he has, since Michael Beale's came in, he has played a lot better. He's contributing better. His goal scoring record's a lot better as well. So we just got to take it as it is, and hopefully it can improve.
Do you ever remember, Graham, there was that clip? I can't remember what interview it was, but it was a guy on BBC News, and his kid came into the room while he was getting interviewed, and he pure berated the Wayne and shouted and screamed at the Wayne. And notice how Stu put his camera off there and put himself on mute when his Wayne came in, because you just know the Wayne get both barrels there, don't you? That's
I didn't
horrendous.
even notice. I must admit.
Oh, I'm fuming. She knows I'm on the pod. I don't know why she's let him come in.
That's horrendous, Stu.
I can hear him crying as well in the hallway. I feel really guilty now.
Okay, so corner kick. I think is it Penrice? I think that pulls Morelos' jersey nearly off his body. It goes to a VAR check, Stu. Penalty given. Few things to take away for this. For me, anyway. Number one, it's a Stonewall penalty simply because he's tried to pull his jersey off his body. We might discuss a bit more about that and the consistency and stuff like that in a wee minute, but it's a clear penalty. Why does VAR take an age to give it? Or why does VAR take an age to tell the referee, go and have a look? Or why does the person controlling VAR, I need to stop VAR. Why does the person controlling VAR take an age to say to the referee, go and have a look at that, when we can all see it within 2 seconds?
I don't know. This for me is one of the big problems with VAR is the timings, and I know they want to make sure that the decision is correct, but I think sometimes it's a bit blatant. And I know people can argue that the penalty might be soft. They might want to say what they like, and we'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, either that is or it isn't a penalty. There's no more that they can see that he's pulling Morelos' shirt right off him, basically. So they should just tell him, you should go and have a look at this. Or they say he's got a hold of Morelos' shirt, he's pulling it really far off him, but Morelos isn't getting the ball. What do you want to do? Do you want to have a look, or do you want us to just play on? That decision can be made in 10, 20 seconds. It doesn't need to wait. I mean, we ended up having something like 6 minutes injury time in the first half, which that contributed to. I don't get it. I don't get why that takes so long. And it's not just like exclusive to this game. We see it all the time in VAR in Scotland and England. We see it everywhere. So yeah, that's a very frustrating side of VAR. Just timings, I think. In terms of the penalty itself, it's a penalty. It's one of them ones where it's probably happened every single game ever before VAR, but you can't get away with it. Maybe a slight shirt pull, maybe when it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but you have to see if Obalai isn't there, Morelos could potentially be pulled away from that ball as he's going for it. And that's for me what it comes down to. If you take the defender out, then Morelos is probably getting to that ball. He doesn't need to pull his shirt, so I don't know why he does. He, like you said, he nearly pulls it off of Morelos. It's such a bizarre decision. And I know we'll see the media kick up a fuss about it, and probably for the next few weeks, every tiny shirt pull will be a penalty. But that was blatant. He had a huge handful, and he was pulling it right far off his head. And I am Nemo, who's just mentioned the Boldy comment there. The hat was just in celebration of Jerry, who donated earlier with his Canadian dollars. So I put my Canadian Toronto Raptors hat on. That was all it was for, and also to hide the Boldy head. But yeah, so for me, 100% a penalty, and just again frustration with the officialdom in Scotland in general, and I know that probably goes everywhere. It's not just Scotland that suffers with the lengthy delays in VAR, but yes, it's got to be improved for me.
Yeah, 100% it does. CGM, VAR was probably spending most of the time looking for a reason to give Morelos a yellow card instead of a penalty. Brilliant. Look, Graham, for me, there's absolutely no argument that it's a penalty. But to qualify that, see when it's in the box and 2 people are close together and a corner's coming in and somebody gives somebody a wee tiny pull of the shirt. For me, technically that is a penalty, but I don't like to see them given because I don't think there's enough force in it. It's just a wee pull of a shirt or whatever. But something like that, that's so clear. There's no way you
I agree, mate.
For that.
I totally agree. When you see like basically the person's body, because their shirt's kind of near enough over their head and stuff like that, that's when it's a penalty or a foul outside the box. But it's just like a wee slight tug. There'd be too many penalties given every game if that was the case. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with that. It's a penalty. I just feel that with these ones, you're going to see next week the same thing happen, but somebody will not get a penalty. So I just wish it would be totally consistent. Every game, every ref knows what's a penalty, what's not, and they stick to the rules. So it's consistency that's my problem with this, but it's definitely a penalty. And Taff slots it away, and that's what's up and running.
The problem you've got is asking for consistency with certain decisions which are down to interpretation. Each individual's person's interpretation is different. I think on something like that, that shirt pull, there's no interpretation needed. He's clearly pulled the shirt nearly off his body, whereas a slight shirt pull might have a different, because I think that shirt pull, Stu, that changed the way that Morelos was going. That actually affected his movement. Small shirt pulls don't really affect your movement, do they?
Yeah, absolutely. And usually you sort of have a shirt, a hold of each other's shirt. You see that a lot. But yeah, it wasn't. Let's say Morelos was jumping and the guy was putting his shirt down. And like I've already said, if the defender isn't there, that could potentially stop Morelos scoring a goal. It's a bit like not exactly the same, but take the defender out. Dundee United last season, when was it last season or before, when Sakala's going to tap the ball in and they basically just put his shirt back and stop him scoring a goal, which actually didn't get given, funnily enough, but that was a red card, wasn't it? So I think shirt pulls do happen. You are trying to you're allowed to put a hand on the guy. I get that, and sometimes you do just end up grabbing the shirt. It's hard to break that. I do agree with you. I don't think that little shirt pulls are the problem, but stuff like that. And again, he didn't need to do it. It's for anyone that says it's soft as well. It's the equivalent if he just fouled Morelos off the ball. It's exactly the same. He doesn't need to do it, but he does it anyway. A shirt pull like that is a foul and it's a penalty. So yeah, Stonewall for me.
100%. The next thing, Paul, the next thing Custer will bring out skin tight shirts so you can't grab them. Oh, I would hate to see me in a skin tight shirt. That would not look good. Stu, you all right there, Stu? Look like you're going to throw up.
No, she just texted me and said he come in looking for one of his toys, and I was just trying to see if it was around so I could throw it out for him.
You can't really go too much deep into a penalty, Graham. But Captain Tav steps up, slots it away, and especially after I think he missed the last one, didn't he? So he stepped back up again and put it away. As the title of the reactions called, a captain's contribution.
Yeah, I always feel confident. See when he picks a side, it's when he goes down the middle. I think this is just going off the top of my head. Most of these penalties, I think, when he misses, he goes down the middle or he hits the posts. It's when he gets it to the sides, 9 times out of 10 they go in, and it was sending the keeper the wrong way and sets on our way to the 3 points. Just wish we could have done a wee bit more in the first half to make it a lot easier.
I want to come on to this point in a wee second, right? Rangers on tour. Tav is 5 goals away from 100, right? We'll come on to that when we discuss the second goal, but remind me, Stu, because I'll forget about that, right? I do want to bring that up. Straight after we go 1-0 up, Stu, we nearly concede. And I think that was maybe Livingston had 2 or 3 decent, really, really decent chances to score in the game. But overall, that Goldson-Davies partnership working well.
It's working really well, and I think it's something that we don't concentrate that much on. We mentioned before in the pre-match how Goldson's important because he marshals the defence, but I didn't really touch on the fact that he's built up a really, really good partnership with Ben Davies, and I think they both complement each other so well. I know one's right, one's left. They work so well together, and I think both of them are better players next to each other. And I don't know what it is. It's just like this synergy thing they have going on, and they both just excel together. They look rock solid together. We were discussing it in the chat during the game, and I think as long as we can have those two long term, I think we're a better defensive unit for it. And most of the chances we concede, unfortunately, tend to come down the sides. But that's what's going to happen when you have 2 attacking fullbacks. But yeah, overall, I mean, they're just fantastic, and we've got to keep both of them injury-free, certainly for next week, but long-term, we need both of them because they are the 2 first-choice centre-backs. And although we have a lot of injury problems there and we're talking about recruiting in that area, we're recruiting for backups because I don't think we need to change either one of them.
No, they're both so cool on the ball. Stu, I want to take us straight back to you, channel member Gregor Leishman. Tav's goal contribution is amazing, but we can't keep carrying a player that might score once a game and that's it. Is that all Tav does?
It's not all he does, but I did text the chat halfway through and say he's playing like a 38, 39-year-old this season.
I thought he had a really good first half.
I didn't personally. I didn't think he had a good first half. And I'm one of his biggest fans. I just think this season in particular, I just think he's looked off it. I don't know if he was carrying an injury early on. We know that. His passing has been quite slack all season. He doesn't look as quick as he used to look, which it happens. it is hard because Tav gets a rough time of it. I think no matter what happens, anything bad happens to Tav or Tav's side, he's going to get pelters. And I think sometimes it's maybe unjust, but I think this season's not been one of his top seasons for us, and he's had a lot of high levels, so it's understandable that he's not always going to reach those. I think he gets back there personally. I think he's young enough. I know he's 30 years old, so as a defender, he's probably in his prime years now, and I'm hoping that this is just a bit of an off patch for him, that he started the season bad with that injury. I just want his passing to get back under control more than anything. It's just these slack passes that you don't associate with Tav. But that being said, he doesn't just score goals, but that's such a huge asset to have for a right back that gives you the goal output. What someone said, he's 5 away from 100 goals. That's a ridiculous stat. That's not even taking into consideration his assists. The penalty. I was actually a bit worried because he's missed 1 or 2 in recent times, and I actually don't think his penalty rate is fantastic for us, but under pressure his penalty rate is pretty good for us. So yeah, I love Tav, and I want him to get back to the levels that I know he can get to, and everyone else know he gets to. I just think for his own standards, he's probably not at the level that he wants to be, or I expect him to be. I mean, other people might feel different, but yeah, that's just me.
Well, I don't know.
There's Jerry.
I don't know. Jerry, it's because you're wearing that hat. That's what it is. Channel member Jerry, another £10 donation. Super sticker. Thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you. Look, we'll go through the incidents quickly, because there's loads of people asking about Cantwell, loads of people asking about Raskin, some people talking about Morelos and whether we need to make a decision next Sunday. We'll talk about all that. Just very quickly then, we'll finish up on the game, Graham. Just the final thing on the first half, Stephen Kelly. It looked like an absolutely horrendous tackle on Kamara. I didn't get to see a replay. I don't know if you have seen a replay of it. He got a yellow card. Should it have been more?
No, I think yellow was the right decision. It was. I think Kamara managed it well by getting most of his body out of the way. So I think Kamara helped Stephen Kelly a wee bit. But I think yellow. Also, you don't want to see players getting set off all the time. So I'd probably say a yellow was the right decision.
I also think Kamara's reaction helps him as well. Kamara doesn't stay down. He sort of, he goes down, he gets up. My first thought was it was a red, to be honest.
It was really like high. I say, I've not seen a replay, Stu, so I've only seen that initial challenge, and it looked tasty.
Yeah, his studs were up. You could argue he's out of control. I think when I saw the one replay that I saw, it didn't look as bad on the replay as it was, and I think certainly Kamara's reaction definitely helped. If he goes down and rolls around, then who knows? But yeah, mate, it was one of them ones. It's like an orange card, isn't it? I think it was more than a yellow, but it's not quite a red.
Fair enough. Into the second half, back to you, Stu, and Tav. Fantastic pass. Through to Kent. Kent's through on goal. Takes a poor touch, and then the usual Kent fires it straight at the keeper. He's got to do better. He's got to start improving that side of his game.
He does. I don't know what it is with Kent, because he can score screamers. He can score really good goals. I think maybe he tries to be too clever sometimes. I don't know. For someone with as much technical ability as him, you'd think he'd be a better finisher. I don't know. I thought he could still go round the keeper at that point, or knock it to the side of the keeper for, I don't know who was sort of next to him. I just thought that the little knock at the time was the wrong decision. If it rolls under the keeper, then fair enough. But yes,
but it never does.
It never does. He is a very poor finish. We've got a few poor finishes at the club, to be honest, in the forward areas, which is actually a bit of a problem. But it's Kent offers so much more than his finishing. The problem is it's one of those things, isn't it, with Kent, is if Kent could finish on top of everything else he could do, he wouldn't be at Rangers. And we know that
I think we need to stop saying that. I genuinely think that's one thing we need to stop saying. If he could do this, if he could do that, he wouldn't be at Rangers. I think we've got to remember we're a big football club. And
we're a massive football club.
And I don't know what. I understand the concept of if he could do that, he would be in a bigger league earning more money. But it's just starting to annoy me now. So stop saying it.
All right, I'll stop saying it. But I think he would probably be playing in England if he could finish. So I think Kent is such a quality player that is one side of his game, and even without that attribute, we've always talked about big money moves for Ryan Kent. He's someone that is a quality player. It's frustrating that when you see someone like with Morelos, you can sort of understand Morelos is a bit sporadic in everything he does. He's a bit up and down in every facet of his game. With Kent, he's very technically gifted, and you don't usually see technically gifted players that are quite poor at striking a ball. And Kent is for some reason, but his crossing I always find pretty good on either foot, and I just don't know. It's one of these weird mysteries in football for me that I don't understand why Ryan Kent can't finish.
It makes me wonder though that what we're doing in training, because when you think what you said, Morelos, Sakala, Kent, they're all instinctive finishers. When they've got time and kind of basically time to decide what to do. Like, when was the last time you seen a Rangers striker chip the ball over a keeper when they're that close to the keeper? They almost hit it straight at them. So it makes me wonder if they actually practicing and doing scenarios to get better, because it's not just like it's not recently. It's like years now. We're seeing the same chances not get put away. So it's.
Paul, do you remember Paul, Graham? Can we not give the goalie some credit for the Kent save? We would be applauding if that was McGregor. But it wasn't McGregor. It was a Livingston goalkeeper. And it was our £7 million winger who went through on goal and firstly took a really, really poor touch. But then even after the poor touch, had still had time to make up his mind. So no, they can't give the goalie...
He done well getting out as quick and that, but I think Kent should still be finishing it for me.
He did. He should be. He should be. But no, I'm not giving the goalkeeper any credit. Absolutely not. If it was McGregor, it'd have been a world-class save, but that's not the point. So, what's your beer of choice, Stu?
Well, it's a Madry, but it's in a pint glass that our lovely Scott Kerr actually treated me to while I was up in Scotland. He bought this for me. I feel really guilty because I didn't get him anything, but he got me a lovely pint glass. So thanks, Kerr. I think Kerr's in the comments. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying the Madry.
Basically, Stu, you stole that out of a pub.
Yep, that's it. Kerr got it for me, I promise. You can back me up in the chat. Back me up, Kerr.
Right, okay. Graham, Omiyonga got a second yellow card for a foul on Roofe. Was it a foul for you?
I can see why he gave the foul, and I think it is. He can give the foul but not give the yellow card. Because Roofe plays it well. It's one of the ones it's not a dive, but it's close to a dive. So I think the ref could have given the free kick, but not the yellow. So for me, then it's not a sending off.
I don't think it's a free kick, Stu.
I think it is a free kick. At first, I thought it was a dive. That was my first.
Roofe's leant into him. I think
I thought it was.
Throw his leg away. No, I don't think it's a dive by any man.
No,
I think there is contact, but Omiyonga's pulled away and Roofe's kind of leant into him. For me, anyway. I've only seen it once, but just for me. On
first viewing, I thought it was a dive from Roofe. So I was quite surprised that the ref even gave the free kick. And he seemed to take a few minutes, or not a few minutes, but it seemed to take a few seconds to... It was almost like the ref thought in his head, actually, he's on a yellow, so I should send him off. But when I saw the replay, I thought it was a foul. I thought Roofe was clever, like Graham said, but I think Omiyonga's feet do get in the way of him, and they do sort of touch, they clatter, he goes down. But yeah, I completely agree with Graham. I think it's a foul, but it's not a yellow card. I don't think he needed to give the yellow card in the situation. I can understand. You know, Omiyonga puts himself. He gives the decision, or he gives the ref a decision to make. Maybe he doesn't want to give that decision because it's Roofe being clever. But you know, he tries to tackle Roofe. He maybe tries to pull out, but he does get in the way. It's a foul that automatically gives the ref a decision. If he didn't do that stupid sort of pullback in the first half, he wouldn't be on a yellow anyway. That said, yes, it's not a second yellow for me.
I think it's harsh. I think it's really, really, really harsh. Paul, okay, Martin, you skipped past the second penalty. Why didn't VAR give that? Because Kent was offside. I didn't really think we had to bring that up, to be fair.
I believe they were checking it as well.
They checked it. Kent was offside. We didn't get to see the camera angles, but Kent was offside. Come on, we're not that support. You know, if Kent's offside, he's offside. 100% he's offside. We don't need to discuss that, do we, lads? I don't think that.
No.
I mean, if he's onside, it's a clear foul and it's a second penalty. Nobody's arguing that, but he was offside.
I would like the ref to come out and admit that he was wrong because he wasn't going to give the penalty. He was happy for it to not be a penalty. So I would like VAR to confirm they would have given the penalty, but he was offside.
No,
that's what annoys me though. Like, with VAR, refs are not making decisions and just waiting. Whereas they're a problem as well. They can speed the game up by giving the decision that they think, and then if it's clear and obvious error, then they overturn it. But refs are just waiting for VAR.
CGM's brilliant, isn't he? If we didn't get to see the camera angle, he's probably well onside. There you go. Absolutely brilliant. And from that sending off, Graham, the captain steps up. Boom, what a hit.
Another penalty, just this time it was outside the box. I've seen somebody put that on Twitter, I thought it was quite funny. Technique's unreal, and I'd like to see how many free kicks he's scored because that must be a high number as well. But I got the actual notification for the flash score before it, so I knew it was coming, so it ruined it a wee bit. But what a strike. I love seeing Tav score because I think I've seen something midweek as well. He's got more goals in Scotland than what Chris Sutton's got. So as a right back, so it's always good to see him score, and especially goals like that because it shows his ability and step up. And once you put that in the back of the net, the game is over.
I know. I genuinely wasn't expecting him to score for it. I was like, he's too close. It's too tight an angle. Perfect, absolutely perfect. And now Stu's on mute.
Did you put me on mute? I don't even remember putting myself on mute. All right. I feel like he used to score free kicks all the time, by the way. Like when he first comes to the club, I felt like he used to be a top free kick taker. And then up until probably during the 55 season, it slowly started to wane a little bit. It was an unbelievable strike. It almost feels like he doesn't even strike the free kicks that much anymore. I don't know if he's lost a bit of confidence in them. But yeah, that was just top quality. That's the Tab we know. Bags of technical ability, especially from dead ball situations. And I wasn't expecting him when we got that free kick to even be standing over it. I thought someone else would go out. I thought Cantwell might want to hit at it. I just thought someone else would try it. And to see Tav, it's one of those things with Tav. I don't think he's a proper captain in the old school mold. I think that's more McGregor, that's more Goldson. But Tav leads by example, both on and off the pitch. And I think stuff like that, him taking responsibility for that free kick. You're on mute again. Got him.
95 goals and 112 assists for a right back.
That's outrageous. I mean, I generally don't know what to do with those stats. That is outrageous for a right. That'd be outrageous for an attacking midfield player. It's ridiculous stats, and yeah, we get a lot of the ball, and we spend a lot of the time camped in the opposition half, and he takes penalties and he takes free kicks, but no other right back does that. No other right back has ever done that in Scotland. So he's top class, and he's a Hall of Famer for me without a shadow of doubt.
It's actually a shame that he's got the numbers. It's actually a shame that England are quite strong at right back because I feel you could justify getting at least one cap or a call-up for a friend or something like that with the numbers.
Do you think? I'm not 100% sure about the whole England situation, but then maybe I'm basing that, Graham, on the right backs that they've got available.
That's what I'm saying. It's a shame they've got the ones available. If they were a wee bit of poorer generation, they could have.
Although for me, Trent Alexander-Arnold going forward's far better than Tav, although he doesn't get the numbers, but he plays in a better league. But defensively, he's not as good. Defensively, he's an atrocious right back, but going forward, he's absolutely brilliant. Okay, Graham. 5 goals now. Tav needs to reach 100, as was put in by Rangers on tour earlier. What does it say about a right back if he manages to get 100 goals at your football club?
Lost for words, mate, to be honest. I'm trying to think if there's maybe a right back elsewhere that's got as many goals as that. I can't really think. Because even like your Roberto Carlos, I don't think they manage the numbers. So it's mental. It's been great to witness it and watch him week in, week out. He's scoring these goals. It's not just like the second or the third or the fourth goal he scores. Often it is the first goal and important goals that we've seen against Dortmund, etc. The first one against Leipzig. So it is. It's remarkable. It's actually unbelievable, and lost for words.
I know he's something special. He's something special. I was getting feedback here in my ear. That's what was putting me off. Stu, the enigma that is Kemar Roofe. Actually, lovely play, I think, in the build-up by Ben Davies. If it's not for Ben Davies, I don't think Roofe manages to get his foot on that, he smash it in. But Roofe comes on, scores a goal. Roofe's goals to games ratio is phenomenal as well. It's just that he hasn't played enough games. But I mean, that's what the guy gives you when he's fit. Does he realise he's on mute? I don't think he realises he's on mute. This is horrendous today.
Stop me again. I was just about to make a really great joke about if Roofe stayed fit, he wouldn't be at Rangers, and that's ruined it because I was on mute. Roofe is the best finisher at the club. He's one of the most talented players at the club. He's someone that even at Oxford, I've watched some of the English lower leagues. I really liked him at Oxford. I thought that's the sort of player we should be looking at. And he went to Leeds, and I thought, well, there goes that dream because he'll only ever go up from here. When we got him, I was delighted. The problem is you're always gambling on an injury-prone player, and we've gambled on a few of them. None of them seem to have worked out in our favour, really. That's unfortunate, but I think it's a gamble that sometimes you do have to take. And I don't know, it's difficult because Roofe earns a good wage, and he probably cost us a fair few quid. He's just a top quality striker. He's such a good finisher in the box. We mentioned before that even with his injuries, he doesn't seem to need that much time to get back up to speed. He can just sort of come in from 4 or 5 months out, and he looks like he's never been away. So and it's lucky he does have that because he often has 4 or 5 months out. He would be in the team every single week if it wasn't for injuries. He's that good. He's someone that I think we could have probably made a healthy profit on if he could have stayed fit as well. I don't know. I feel like we got robbed of just how good Kemar Roofe could have been for us long term if he could have stayed fit. He's a frighteningly good player, and he showed every time he comes on. You give him a chance, and he pretty much scores it. We've seen not just goals like today sum him up with just the instinct that he has. We talk about Morelos and Kent maybe being instinct finishers. Roofe's an instinct finisher in every scenario. Even if he has time to think, if he doesn't have time, he always seems to pick the best option. I just love him. I think he's a fantastic player, and I'm really gutted that he does have those injury problems because we would have had a serious player. And I think, I mean, he probably won't start, but he's probably played himself a little bit into contention for next week.
We'll get on to that in a wee second. 2 points of total positivity. 2 players I want to discuss before we go on to discuss Morelos, which might tell you where the conversation is going to go with that. Firstly, Graham, talk to me about Nicholas Raskin. How good is this guy?
He's brilliant. I was watching him closely the most throughout the game. And I just kept on thinking, every decision he made, I kept saying, that's the right decision. That's the right decision. His passing range, short, long, switching a play, the control. He always seems to be in the right position as well. And he gets in about it as well for somebody quite small. So it was a joy to watch today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he progresses in a Rangers shirt. I put in the group chat as well. He reminds me of Kimmich at Bayern Munich. Obviously, I'm not saying he's same level, but the things he does in the park and the way he controls it and stuff, it reminds me of watching him for the last few years. So it's like a great signing. And what I'm loving about the signings we're making now, they're hitting the ground running basically. They're not taking time to get up to speed, and that's a positive for me as well. And hopefully that continues.
Just to the point of I'm going to need to mute Graham because that big you hear is coming for Graham's side, not mine. That's why we're having such issues with the mute button. But that was going to be my point, Stu. He settled in straight away. There was no grace period. He did no settling in time. He's just come in and boom, he's off. You are putting me on mute. I just saw it. I saw it go. Yeah, I said before the game, he's the one player that I'm really, really excited for. He's just I don't know. He looks at home, doesn't he? He's come in and he's
he's settled so quickly. And I think you find that maybe with Belgian players. I think in terms of British football, Belgian players seem to acclimatise really quickly. He looks like he's been here for a long time. And you forget that it's not even the fact he's come from Belgian football. He's not actually played in a few months, and he looks like he's never been away. He's going to make mistakes because people forget he's a young lad as well. He's not someone that's 25, 26. I think he's 22 years old, maybe just turned 22. He's a little, I don't know. He's like a little bulldog in there, isn't he? And not in the sense that he goes around and making these little niggly fouls. He's everywhere. He's all over the pitch at all times.
He always makes the right decisions, too.
Yeah, and what I said in the pre-match, he makes these progressive passes, and he's not afraid to take risks with the passes. If someone's marked but they're in a good position, he will pass to them, and it's something that really gets to me when someone's in a good position and they're marked. And Tillman and Morelos, they always want the ball when they're marked because they know that they can. Morelos can hold it, Tillman can flick it. Those little intricate passes open up defenses because they all get dragged to one player. He will absolutely do that. He will pass to the guy that's marked if it's the right pass. He will take a risk with a pass. He can play long balls, short balls. I don't know. It's 3 games, but I'm really, really excited about him. And I'm sure there's going to be like a little dip in form where we're all saying, I can't believe we signed this guy. But I think long term, he is going to make us a lot of money.
Oh, he was. I thought even though for maybe 60, 65, 70 minutes we were in total control today, but we didn't look to have that extra gear. I still thought he was fantastic. I still thought everything he done was spot on. Violet, you are nice guys. I enjoy watching you here at Scott in Pennsylvania. Well, Violet, you've clearly never met Stu. He's a completely different person. Absolute, completely different person. Right. I started. When is Stu going to get out his stationery cupboard, put a picture on the wall or something?
The thing is, I am moving around a little bit because it's my office as well. So I'm like deciding where perfectly to have it. This is just where I'll put for the pod. So yeah, I will get something up on the wall and hopefully it won't look so much like a stationery cupboard.
It does. It looks terrible. Stu, I went to Graham about Raskin, so I'm going to come to you about Cantwell. Equally as impressive for me today because he's doing the same things that you're talking about that Raskin's doing. Obviously, he's doing them slightly further forward. He's always looking for a pass. He's always looking to pass the ball forward. A couple of wee flicks and tricks that worked and then didn't work, but all round solid. Very, very solid.
Yeah. He's the exact player that we should be signing. He's the profile of player at least we should be signing that maybe has fallen out of favour at his current club or for whatever reason it's just not working for him. You think what Cantwell was linked with before when he broke out into the Premiership with Norwich. For us to get him for pennies is ridiculous because he's 24 years old. He has all the ability, and we knew that anyway because of exactly what the teams that were linked with him beforehand. What I mentioned in the group chat as well when we were watching the game was just his vision. It's all right to take a risk with it. Anyone can take a risk with a pass, but when Cantwell takes a risk, it's because he spotted something. And I think he played the ball through for Kent when Kent was offside, but it could have been a penalty. It was that sort of on the volley, like drive ball through. And him and Raskin both share these sort of similar techniques when they pass the ball and they can put their foot through it, but complete control of the ball. I love players who can do that. He's just really technically gifted. He's not afraid. He's got full confidence in his own ability, which is something that you think most professional footballers will have, but they don't. Not all footballers do have that, and a lot of players are confidence players. Cantwell is someone that seems, and maybe he suffered a bit of it in Norwich, but he seems like if you give him the tools, he will go out and play completely as he wants to and as his ability allows him to. And I think as long as we can give these guys the platform, and it's similar with sort of Tillman and things like that, we have to give these guys the platform to show what they can do. And Cantwell, like Raskin, and I think we have to give some credit to the board and Ross Wilson if that's where it's come from, or Michael Beale, don't know where it's come from, but we have to give these guys credit for spotting these Tillmans and these Raskins and these Cantwells, because these are the perfect players for this player trader model we go on about, but also coming in, helping the club in the short term, trying to help us achieve these goals that we want to achieve, and then hopefully down the line going on for big money.
Yeah. Drewbear channel member was just asking quickly, does Tillman have a knock? I think it was just tightness in his calf. I think basically it was just a precautionary leaving out of the team today, so hopefully he's all right for the final next week, but we'll wait and see. But hopefully that is just precautionary and there's nothing more to that. Cantwell just needs to start taking a few shots, getting himself into the box. We need him to start getting goals for us. Graham, I think that'll come the more he gets used to the players and the more he gets used to the team.
Yeah, a few times I've bet him to score a screamer on my pre-match predictions, and I've been close a couple of times, so I think it will come. He's got the technique, and I think he just needs to kind of be a bit more confidence to get in the positions, because he's to take the shot rather, because he is getting in some of the positions. But there was one in the first half today. He decided to play a kind of pass through to Morelos or Sakala, when I thought he could have maybe let go. But it is coming, and I'll never get tired of seeing players like Cantwell, Raskin, Tillman, your Hadji when he's up full run. They're the players that are on the same wavelength, and they can do the quick 1-2s. It drags the opposition out of position and stuff like that, and it helps your Morelos and that get any better chances. So I'm really excited about these players, and that's the type of profile we can say now. Like, we need players that are like that, and then we've got the profile that will fit our system. And I think going forward, it should be a success.
I've got a few different people in the comments who are my favourite names. There's a few names that I love, and this is one of them. Bob McBob. What did you think of the Livy keeper? There will be no praising of the Livingston goalkeeper today. I actually think he's a pretty decent goalkeeper. Right? I think he's actually quite good. But there'll be no praising of the Livingston goalkeeper because Kent should have scored, and I'm still annoyed about it. But however, there you go. Okay, so that's Raskin and Cantwell. For me, Raskin was man of the match by a mile, even though Tav got 2 goals, which sounds stupid. But for me, Raskin was absolutely man of the match. Stu Alfredo Morelos. There's a few people in the comments and talking about next week. Should Morelos miss out? Should Cholak come in? Should Roofe come in? I don't think he had a great game today. But what's your thoughts before I go any further?
Morelos starts next week, 100%. I think the way we've played in recent months and just Bill's general start, he has to start Morelos. I think if the only other option you could even look at was probably Kemar Roofe. I don't think you can start Cholak against them. I just think that they'll try and overrun us early in that game next week. And I think having someone who could hold the ball up like Morelos will be really key to that early on. And I mean, early on, hopefully we go up and score. But early on, if we're under pressure, he's the guy that can sort of take off. It's his first, for me, poor game in a little while. But I actually did think he looked a bit leaner today. I think the fitness thing is going well. I think he's actually getting back into shape. And maybe this is because he wants to put himself in a shot window. I don't know. But he won the penalty. We forget that. I think he technically gets an assist for that because he wins the penalty that we score from. So he's having a bad game and he's still involved. He's still, contributed towards a goal. So yeah, it's one of them things. It's a bad day at the office from him, but not every player is, every player is going to have these days, and Morelos is no different from that. I think I know his goal scoring record is poor against them, and I know there's plenty of people in the chat that will tell us that. But I think in terms of releasing the creative players in that squad for next week, the Tillmans, the Cantwells, the Kents, Morelos, and probably Raskin already are going to be key to allowing these guys the space and time they need to really hurt. If we're being honest, a much better standard of opposition than we usually play week in, week out. So, yeah, not a great game today, but overall, 100% for me, he starts next week.
I don't necessarily think that Kent had his best game either, to be fair. I just think, Graham, that when Morelos has a poor game, that certain supporters just jump on him straight away. But I'm not excusing his performance today. I don't think he was great. I don't think he played well at all. And there was actually one point in the game where he almost has a kick out with the Livingston player that was on the floor, but he stops himself. But it was just one of those games from the day where, like people are saying in the comments, he was honky.
I think honking's a wee bit too much. It wasn't a good game for him, but I always feel Morelos plays his best when he's got that fire. And him and Livingston are a kind of, lack of a better word, like a average club. There's no kind of anger issues or past history with Livingston. So I always feel that you're set away to Hearts. You've seen it, the fire, he battles with the whole back four. Away to Aberdeen, he does the same. And then I think against Celtic, he'll be up for it again. So for me, he starts 100% next week. And I think we will see the Alfie we've seen previous to this week against them, hopefully.
Of course, hopefully. I've just seen Scott Wright and Prime Figo in the same sentence. Rangers on tour, and that's just scared the absolute life out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's terrified me. Stu, in the build-up, we spoke, and I think it might have actually been Rangers on tour that put the comment in that Kamara, needs to step up because there's some serious competition. What did you think of Kamara?
He may have gone under the radar in terms of who we're speaking about for man of the match and stuff, but I thought he was up there, to be honest. In recent weeks, the thing that's frustrating me with Kamara is giving the ball away, which is what it's not really something we're used to him doing. He's very good at keeping the ball and releasing the ball at the right times, and not just giving the ball away, but he was giving it away in poor areas of the pitch. Today he was completely opposite. He looked like he was playing with confidence again, knocking it about. He does that thing sometimes, Kamara, where you think he's not seen the pass and the player runs on and he just takes that extra second to release it, but it just creates so much more space for the player that's running. He was doing that again today. Barisic sort of got a lot of space down the left-hand side because of it. For me, he stood up to the plate today. We said before the game, and it was Rangers on tour, I think, that put it in the chat. He needed a big performance, and for me, we absolutely got that of him today. And what I like to see is...
Was that enough, Stu?
I was about to say, I like to see that all the players were. It felt like they were playing for their jersey next week today, and that they all want to be part of that final, which is already a positive. They all want to be a part of it. Is it enough that he plays? I think we will personally go with the three sitters again, and I think we will probably see. Well, actually, it depends on injuries. I don't know. I can't even say that, can I? I think we would have probably gone Raskin, Kamara, and Jack, but it depends on who's available. I think he will be the one to drop out if we go with a Raskin and another.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if he's fit and the fatigue's not set in much because he hasn't played much football, Raskin's a first name on. Raskin, Goldson, Davies, Tav are the first names on the team sheet for me. Cantwell as well. I think. Graham, next week's team kind of almost 3/4 picks itself. I think there's just maybe one or two positions up for grabs.
Yeah, I agree with the ones you said there. I think they definitely start, and I think if Tillman is okay, he comes in and starts as well. So I think if Ryan Jack's fit, he definitely comes in. So
who's your midfield? Great. Who's your midfield then, Graham? So it's Raskin, Jack, and
I think you play Tillman.
In the midfield three,
and then you'll have Cantwell on the right, Kent on the left, and Morelos up top.
So Sakala misses out, even though he does like a game against them. And as Rangers on tour put, Graham, Scott Wright does like a game at Hampden.
It does. He scored in the cup final. Did he start the Old Firm semi-final? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
So he scored in the final.
I think that's fair, Graham. I think Raskin, Jack. So Lundstrom, no?
No, not for me. Apart from the Hearts game, he played more like himself. But over the space of 2-3 months, I don't think he's played that well. I think Kamara goes above Lundstrom as well for me on today's performance. But I'd go with Tillman. I like Tillman in the middle because he can break quite quick and he's good at running with the ball and getting up the park. And then Cantwell they can kind of swap positions. So it gives us options in an attacking threat for midfield.
Well, CJ would rather have his mum starting, and she's 74 than Scott Wright. So fair play. Let's see what CJ can do on the park. Just finally, then, Stu, just touching on next Sunday. We go into this. Is it 13 out of 14 new Beals won, or is it 14 out of 15? I've not kept I'll check.
I think it's 30.
13 out of 14. The last time we played them, Beale's first game against them, we were so unlucky not to win. We were the better team. So we go into next Sunday brimming with confidence, do we not?
To be fair, I think both teams do. I think both teams are on fantastic runs. They're the team to beat. They're the team at the top of the table, and I think they're the holders of the competition. So they're the team that we need to dethrone. They will have confidence. It's not going to be like I know we're all in this sort of moment of I don't know. It's our trajectory's going up, so everyone is very confident at the moment and thinks it will be just a case of as long as the team shows up, we'll be okay. We're coming up against a good side. Unfortunately, we are going to have to win every single battle on that pitch, like any old firm. I don't know. It's so tough to predict these games because you just don't know what's going to happen. I feel like with them, if a good team survives the first 20-25 minutes against them, you'll get a good result against them. That said, defensively, we've got to be absolutely on it because that cost us the league victory against them. 2-2, they had 2 shots on targets and we literally gave them both goals. We threw both goals in our own net, technically. So that needs to change, but I think the defence have been together a lot longer now. Ben Davies and Goldson, as we mentioned, have looked a lot more solid. Raskin's come in and just given us a little bit of fire in the middle. Tillman is coming onto a game like you wouldn't believe at the moment. We need these players to step up because it's going to be a completely different atmosphere for them. And Tillman in the past, I think, has sort of gone. He's fallen away in not necessarily an all-firm game, but he's fallen away in some of the bigger games. But that was a long time ago, and I think we've got a bit of a new Tillman. As long as he's fit and as long as he's on it, and Kent loves these games. This is why I think Kamara might start because I feel Kamara's really good in these games. As long as these players are on it.
So is Sakala.
But I think with Sakala, he's really good to bring off the bench as well. I think he's someone that him, some we make the joke about Scott Wright. Scott Wright, I usually find, take today off because at one point he ran off about the ball today, but he's quite good off the bench, I find, Scott Wright and Scott Arfield. Sakala can be good off the bench, and with that pace against Tyron legs, I think he can really exploit a lot of space in behind that they will give us because they won't sit in like other teams do. It's a big pitch, so I think that will suit Sakala. Now I'm saying it, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Sakala start, but I think the sensible option is Sakala off the bench. I just think as long as we're on it, as long as the team, I trust Michael Beale fully to pick the right team. And as long as that team are on it, I believe we will get the result that will lift the trophy. And probably won't say this in about 4 or 5 days, but right now I'm really, really excited.
Well, obviously, look, next week it will be full cup. What'd you call it? Previews. Obviously, on Tuesday for the members, we'll have our second part of the Brian Laudrup series and stuff like that. We'll have our member shows, but obviously next week we're going to be building up to the cup final. So, Graham, I'll finish with you on this just as quick as you can. From Big Dave, channel member, if all our players were fit and in form right now, who is our first 11?
McGregor, Tav, Goldson, Davis. Borner probably still just gets in because I've not seen enough of Yilmaz. Raskin, Jack, Tillman, Cantwell, Kent, Morelos.
Any arguments, Stu?
No, spot on. I think Yilmaz long term is the answer, but I think in terms of what we got right now, the questions right now, yeah, it's Borner. So yeah, I'd completely agree with him.
There we go. Okay. So thank you everybody for tuning in. That hour absolutely flew by. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Graham. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. Share it with your pals. Of course, don't forget about our sponsors kit bag. The link for that is in the description. Up to 65% off a wide range of football tops, including this season's Rangers tops. If you enjoy the content that much that you want to see more, you can become a member. Hit that join button below, or the link for that is in the description. For our members, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30. I think Stu's hosting. Are you hosting, Stu?
Tomorrow?
Yes. I've
Maybe.
not put. I forgot to ask people, so I'm just assuming you're hosting. We'll discuss that later. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30, and then of course Monday we'll be back on YouTube where you are right now for our Monday night show, and on we go from there. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Stu. Like, subscribe, share, etc., etc. Blah 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 blah. And we'll speak to you all very very soon.